The wars in Iraq represent a complex and bloody web of events that have profoundly affected contemporary history. These conflicts are not isolated episodes, but rather manifestations of deep rooted tensions and far reaching geopolitical dynamics. They have shaped not only the fate of the Middle East region, but have had significant repercussions on the global balance of power. The roots of this instability lie in ancient Mesopotamia, the cradle of human civilization. This fertile land between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers has been a crossroads of peoples, cultures, and empires for millennia. The turbulence that characterized it has continued uninterrupted into the 21st century, making Iraq an epicenter of persistent conflicts. The region we now know as Iraq has been, since the dawn of history, a territory of inestimable value. Its wealth of natural resources, particularly water and fertile soil, combined with its strategic location between east and west, has made it a constant target of conquest. For millennia, this land has been the scene of countless wars and invasions. Since ancient times, Mesopotamia has been contested by emerging powers. The Sumerians, Akkadians, Babylonians, and Assyrians successively ruled, building and destroying empires. Later, the Persians, the Greeks under Alexander the Great, and the Romans extended their influence over these lands. This succession of rulers left a legacy of instability and deep seated rivalries. The advent of Islam in the 7th century introduced new geopolitical and cultural dynamics to the region. Mesopotamia became a hub of the Islamic world, culminating in the rise of the Abbasid Caliphate. Baghdad, founded in 762, became the capital of this vast empire. Under the Abbasids, Baghdad and Iraq experienced a period of great cultural and scientific splendor, known as the Islamic Golden Age. However, this period of flourishing was followed by centuries of decline and fragmentation. Mongol invasions, Ottoman rule, and Persian domination contributed to further instability and the region's progressive marginalization. After the dissolution of the Ottoman Empire at the end of World War I, Iraq fell under British rule. The colonial powers redrew the region's borders, creating artificial states without regard for pre existing ethnic and religious divisions. In 1921, the Kingdom of Iraq was established, with Faisal as its ruler. Formal independence, achieved in 1932, did not bring the hoped for stability. The new Iraqi state was marked by a series of military coups and a succession of authoritarian regimes. Internal tensions between the various communities, particularly between Shiites, Sunnis, and Kurds, remained unresolved and often exploited. In this context of perpetual instability, Saddam Hussein's rise to power in 1979 marked the beginning of a particularly dark period. His Ba'athist regime was known for its brutality and repression of all forms of dissent. Iraq entered an era of terror and devastating wars, which would have catastrophic consequences for the country and the entire region. The first major conflict of the Saddam Hussein era was the Iran Iraq War, which began in 1980 and lasted 8 long years. This bloody and attritional conflict, triggered by Iraq, claimed millions of lives and drained the economies of both countries. The war profoundly weakened Iraq, leaving it with enormous debt and a traumatized society. Despite the devastation he suffered, Saddam Hussein did not hesitate to embark on a new military adventure. In 1990, he ordered the invasion of neighboring Kuwait, claiming its sovereignty and rich oil reserves. This aggression sparked unanimous international condemnation and led to the formation of a broad military coalition. The US led Gulf War began in January 1991. The military operation was swift and effective, leading to the liberation of Kuwait within weeks. However, the coalition decided not to overthrow Saddam Hussein's regime, fearing a power vacuum and even greater destabilization in the region. The failure to remove Saddam Hussein had lasting consequences. Iraq was subjected to extremely severe international economic sanctions. These sanctions, while intended to weaken the regime, had a devastating impact on the civilian population, worsening the humanitarian situation and causing widespread suffering. The new millennium saw an escalation of tensions between Iraq and the United States. In 2003, the United States, with the support of several allies, launched a full scale invasion of Iraq. The operation was justified primarily by accusations that the Iraqi regime possessed weapons of mass destruction. These accusations later proved unfounded, but the invasion proceeded swiftly. Saddam Hussein's regime was overthrown within weeks, and the dictator was captured and subsequently executed. The American occupation that followed, however, proved far more complex and problematic than expected. The occupation sparked a violent insurrection fueled by various factions. The deep sectarian divisions between Shiites and Sunnis, long repressed by Saddam's regime, flared up with ferocity. Terrorist groups, including Al Qaeda in Iraq, exploited the chaos to strengthen their presence and spread terror. The consequences of the invasion and occupation were catastrophic. Iraq suffered a massive loss of life, both civilians and military personnel. The country's infrastructure was destroyed, and political instability became the norm. Iraqi society was torn apart by sectarian violence and a profound sense of uncertainty. The withdrawal of American troops in 2011, though expected, did not bring the hoped for peace and stability. The power vacuum and persistent internal tensions created fertile ground for new threats. The most serious of these was the rise of the Islamic State, or ISIS, in 2014. ISIS, a jihadist terrorist organization, conquered vast swathes of the country, imposing a brutal reign of terror. Its actions included mass executions, the destruction of historical sites, and the systematic persecution of religious and ethnic minorities. Iraq once again found itself on the brink of collapse. A new international coalition, led by the United States, intervened to counter ISIS. After years of intense fighting, the terrorist organization was territorially defeated in 2017. However, its defeat did not end the instability plaguing Iraq. Persistent political tensions, endemic corruption, and the presence of non state armed militias continue to undermine the country's security and development. Iraq remains a battleground for regional and international influence, with its sovereignty often undermined. The wars in Iraq, from Mesopotamia to the present day, represent a cycle of violence with global consequences.